Have you ever had a moment where it didn't go according to plan? Or maybe it did, and you're like, I just wish I would have planned it better. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a time where you were like baptizing a family in a service and you should have planned to wear short sleeves instead of long sleeves because now you've got a wet shirt and like, I think there's wet spots on my pants and I'm like, I just can't do this. I should have planned that a little bit better. Let me just see by raising, who are my planners in the room? Raise your hand. Nudge the person next to you if they're, let me thank you. All right, I love you. My life would not work without you. Those of you who are not planners, I just want to say, I hope you enjoy the ride with me because it's a lot of fun, but I hope you got a planner in your life because it makes everything so much better. I can say this in the second service because it's not the first service, i.e. my wife's not here. I can just tell you, my wife has already completed all of her Christmas shopping. You can love her or hate her for that. Either way, yeah. Our planner's like, yeah! The procrastinators like me are like, I'm jealous and ashamed. See, me, I haven't bought a single Christmas gift yet. Now, that's half true, half not true. I actually have purchased an Advent calendar for my wife. And by I have a friend who every year buys it so that she doesn't know it's being shipped to the house. So the only thing I've done is I have a friend who's good enough to remember to say, do you want me to get the same Advent thing every year? Yes, that's good. That's the only thing I have planned for. That is the way I like to do the holidays. Now, for some of you who are planners, you're getting hives right now. For some of those, you're like, what is this P word you keep talking about? I've never heard about it. Wherever you are, I want to tell you that there are plans and sometimes plans don't go according to plan. You ever had a moment where plans don't go according to plans? You ever had a Christmas where things didn't go according to plan? I don't know, I remember the first time things didn't go according to plan in my Christmas. I was a little kid, and Santa was very clear about what I wanted for Christmas, and Santa did not deliver, and it did not go according to plans, and I was upset. And then I got punished for getting upset. And not only did I not get the gift I wanted, I actually got punished because things didn't go according to plan. That's where you should feel sad for me, guys. Thank you. I've also had holidays that don't go according to plan for other reasons. In 2004, it was December, and things didn't go according to plan because we were going to my older brother's college graduation. Now, if you knew him, you'd know why that wouldn't go according to plan. We weren't sure he was going to graduate from high school. Literally at his high school graduation, someone looked and said, Ryan Thomsen, are you actually here? Did you make it today? He was the one we didn't know if he'd graduate high school. So when he graduated college, it did not go according to plan. But it was December, and so what we did is we drove. Again, I was living in LA. We drove to Central Coast for his college graduation. At the end, we went through the plan. It was great. And then we were driving on the way home. It was a fun time. Again, I fell asleep in the back of the car. My little brother was driving. My mom was asleep in the front. And then all of a sudden, I wake up to steam, smoke, something arising from the front of this crumpled car. My mom in the front, unable to make out words intelligibly. I'm wondering, is this the worst dream or is this reality? There's this moment where I don't know if I'm awake or asleep or not, and there's these strangers who are coming trying to pull me from this car. I feel this pain in my lower back, and they're like, whoa, 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 let them stay there. And in this moment, I realized not only was this not a dream, this was real. And I'll just tell you, that wasn't the plan. The plan wasn't to drive in the fog that late at night. The plan was not to get in that accident. The plan was to get back to school next week for finals. That didn't happen. The plan was to have a holiday where we could go and have gifts and we could actually go see all the lights. We couldn't do that because I struggled to get out of bed. I had a plan to take this girl, and she was a real special girl. I was going to take her up to a friend's wedding. Now, I don't know if you know this, but if there's a girl who's a special girl, you're taking them to a wedding and you're not dating yet, it's your way of saying, hey, girl, this is what I want to happen to us one day. And in that moment, I thought, ooh, this may not go according to plan. That year, that Christmas didn't go according to plan. And what I just want to tell you, friends, is sometimes things in Christmas doesn't go according to plan. The reason I know that is not just because it happened to me, but I can just tell you the very first Christmas didn't go according to plan. I don't know how much you know about the Christmas story, but there's a story of Mary and Joseph traveling 90 miles. And after they get there, they get to Joseph's ancestral home and like, hey, we're here. Where's our place? And like, oh, we have no room for you. To which Mary said, you had one part of the plan, Joseph. Just book the room. Didn't go according to plan. You see, Mary and Joseph were this amazing, cute, innocent couple. Again, there wasn't this love story the way we'd think of in the Western world where two people choose each other, but it's this amazing love story of an arranged marriage of this 12, 13, 14-year-old girl who was known not of having noble birth, but having noble character. Married to this other dude, again, not noble birth, but noble character. In the beginning of their story, after they've committed to each other, Mary has something go not according to plan. She finds out that she's going to have a baby, and the baby is not his. And in this moment, things are not going according to plan. And so what I want to tell you this morning is oftentimes life doesn't go according to plan, but sometimes when things don't go according to plan, what we realize is the interruption is pregnant with possibility. And sometimes the new plan is not easy. It may be painful. It may not be what you've dreamed, but sometimes you realize that on the other end, the other plan was better than your plan. But it's painful to get there. So today what we want to do is talk about what happens when God interrupts, when things don't go according to plan, and in the midst of it, you're trying to figure it out. You see, that's the very first Christmas. That's the story that we're going to read in Luke chapter 1 of this young girl named Mary who had a plan, who'd been betrothed. This is something a little bit more than engaged, a little less than married. She's betrothed to this man named Joseph. And in Luke chapter 1, verse 26, we see what happens when things don't go according to plan. Because God had a different plan. Luke 1:26. In the 6 months of Elizabeth's pregnancy, pause. You don't know who Elizabeth is yet, but we'll talk about her next week. It's going to be great. God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, to a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you." Verse 29, Mary said, "That's awesome." Actually not. Verse 29, Mary is greatly troubled at his words and wondering what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid. Mary, you have found favor with God. You will conceive a son and give birth to him and call him Jesus. He will be great. He will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end." Verse 34, and Mary asked, How can this be since I am a virgin? How can this be since I am a virgin? How can this be? If you look closely at the question that Mary asks after her plans are interrupted, if you look closely at the Greek, it translates something like this. It's Mary looking at the angel and being like, "What you talking about, Willis?" Like, wait, what do you mean I'm gonna have a baby? Okay, Gabriel, Gabe, can I call you Gabriel? You seem like a really good guy, and you're the Lord's messenger, so for you. But do you know how babies are made? Did your parents not sign the permission slip in 5th grade where you go to class, they teach you about the birds and the bees, and when a man loves a woman, and do you not know? Because that hasn't happened yet. This can't be. It doesn't make sense. It's not part of my plan. And I know you told me don't be afraid, but let me just tell you, when someone tells you don't be afraid, does that make you feel better? No. I'm not here to hate on the angel dude. Again, an angel essentially just means messenger from God. I don't want to hate on him because he's a messenger from God and all, but if you tell me don't be afraid, I'm going to be afraid. You see, don't you realize that we had a plan? Our parents had this plan. We were going to get married. One day we were going to have a kid, but it wasn't going to be like this. You see, we're going to have those perfect pictures in our wedding, and there was no baby bumps planned in our wedding pictures. So Gabe, how can this be? You see, I came into this morning wanting to talk about the amazing things God does when we allow him to interrupt his plans. But as I looked around the room this morning, as I even talked to people between services, what I realized is some of you have come in and you're like, my plans have already been taken off the rail. It hasn't even got to December. I'm not even in the Christmas story, but some of you are living in a situation where you're like, this wasn't my plan. This wasn't the plan for my dating life. This wasn't the plan for my family. This isn't the plan of how I thought I would spend the holidays. This isn't the plan for my career, for my faith, and all those things. And what I want to tell you is when things don't go according to plan, it's okay to be like Mary and be like, I'm troubled by this. Look what the angel doesn't do. The angel doesn't say, hey, don't be troubled. If you're troubled, you don't have enough faith. When she says, hey, how can this be? He doesn't come and say, I'm an angel. See the halo, the wings? See it? If you're asking questions of me, that must mean you don't have enough faith in God because you're asking questions. He doesn't come and say, hey, look, everything makes sense. He says, no, you have a plan. And honestly, it was a good plan. But God has this great plan. Oh, I know, yeah, you wanted to be a mom, but let me just tell you, it's going to happen in a way that's different. And I know that everyone thinks their kid's going to be the greatest, right? Everyone's going to have that sticker that says, my kid's an honor roll student at such and such elementary or junior high or whatever. Like, your kid is going to be like, my kid is the Son of God. He'll sit on the throne forever and he'll never reign. Come on, let me just be clear. I do not mean this disrespectfully. Could you imagine what it's like for Mary to be like, hey, I got pregnant and it's not my husband's baby, but the one inside of me, he's kind of special. He's going to be the King of Kings. Don't post that on social, This isn't the plan, but it is better. But let me just tell you, when things don't go according to plan, I want you to see how Mary responds, and I want to encourage you to respond in a similar way. When things don't go according to plan, what does it say? It says that she's greatly troubled and she asks questions. And let me just tell you, one of the things that you need in this season, and one of the things you need when things don't go according to plan, is you need to know it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask questions. When I was in that car accident and I was being taken via ambulance to the hospital, and my mom is not able to speak intelligibly, I've got this pain in my lower back, wondering what is it and what might be the thing. I'm also wondering, how's my little brother doing? He's 4.5 years younger than me. Could you imagine the pain and shame that he has, that he actually got up and he walked away from this accident, and his mom and his brother are on the way there? And the only reason he's in the ambulance is not because he needed to be in the ambulance, but he crashed the one car we were driving. In that moment, I was not okay. I wrestled and I prayed. And I wasn't okay, but in that moment, there was this sense that the situation was not okay, but in my wrestling, I felt okay because I knew that God was with me in that moment. I don't know if any of you have ever had this moment. If you haven't, in some ways I pray that you never have the accident that gets you there, but I had this moment where it's almost like God came down and he was inside that ambulance with me. And he didn't say things are going according to plan, but it was okay. Why? Because him being with me was all that I needed in that moment. I didn't have the answers to the medical questions yet. I didn't have answers to what was going to happen. I didn't have answers to what was going to happen in my midterms or my finals the next week. I didn't have any of those answers, but what I had was I had a peace that came from knowing that he was with me. But the only reason that came is because there was wrestling first. And I want to tell you where Mary gets at the end. At the end, Mary has this beautiful line, and I want this to be the end of your story, where she says, I am your servant. Let it be unto me as you have said. And she gets to this place of servant surrender. And I want you to get there. I want you to go from, there's been an interruption that was not according to the plan. And I want you to get to this place where you can entrust, submit, and surrender to God and say, God, whatever you want, I will trust you in that. But what happens is in between, there has to be some wrestling. I want to call it some righteous wrestling. I don't know about you, I grew up watching some WWE wrestling. It was WWF back then. I don't know if you knew that. But in that time, there was wrestling and there was nothing righteous about it. I can just tell you that. But it's actually interesting, if you look at the Bible, whenever people wrestle with God, it's seen as a good thing. Abraham has a negotiation with God. Well, it's like they're trying to settle on the deal of a used car. And God doesn't say, hey, Abe, look at all this I gave you, and now you want more? He's like, hey, let's talk about it. It's not just him. Moses, maybe you heard of him? He's a guy who grew up in Egypt and then commits murder and then he runs away, which is kind of what you do when you know if anyone sees you, you're gonna get locked up or worse. And God says, no, I actually want you to go back and be an instrument of salvation for these people. Moses doesn't say, hey, sounds great. He's like, no, thank you. He wrestles. He wrestles with God, I'm not good enough. God, what about the other people? God, what about this? And in that moment, what happens is they wrestle, and God doesn't say, hey, if you just trusted me, you wouldn't ask these questions. If you just trusted me, you wouldn't be so anxious. He says, I will step into that wrestling with you, and there will be that struggle. Here's Mary in a line of people throughout Scripture who feel uncomfortable, who are wrestling, and they're answering questions. And in that moment, what I want to tell you is that wrestling is actually a sign of righteousness, because in that moment, you are being honest with God. Some of you have moments where you have complete and total faith. You don't need to wrestle. I love that for you. But some of you are in moments where you just need to know it's okay to wrestle. God, what you talking about? God, this doesn't make sense. God, I'm not comfortable with it. But let me just tell you, these are the moments where relationships are forged. You see, when I got engaged to that girl, remember that girl who was supposed to go to the wedding with me after my car accident? The plans changed. She actually drove from LA to Bakersfield to visit me. Anyone who drives to Bakersfield, Saint right there, thank you. She then, while I was kind of laying there in and out of consciousness, she then had to be interrogated by my mom. Ooh, it's a strong woman, both of them. Which one? Okay, she survived that. And then at the end, I said, hey, do you still want to go on this trip? I don't know if she can walk. She's like, yeah, let's do it together. So on the drive up and on the drive back, there was a bonding, there was a connection. And in that moment, I knew, man, this girl's something special. This wasn't my plan, but it was better than my plan. Fast forward 2 years after that, we're engaged, ready to be married, and we're going to marriage counseling to try and prepare ourselves for it. And our counselor said, hey, what do you guys do when you guys have conflict? What do you do when you fight? Right? Conflict. We're Christians. We don't have conflict. We're talking about, I love Jesus. Why would we ever have any stroke? Why would that ever be there? And he just looked at us like, I'm going to make a lot of money on this one. He seemed to say. I remember the first time there was that moment of conflict and wrestling, and all of a sudden I felt totally helpless, insecure, and all those things. And I looked at this, I said, I never want to feel this helpless and powerless ever again. I literally sat in a car outside of our marriage counseling and thought, invitations have already gone out. Will an email be enough to cancel the wedding, or do I have to call them one at a time? Literally, I'm in that place because I hate those places of conflict so much. But what I've now learned 18 years later, it's actually in those places of conflict and discomfort where intimacy grows the most. Don't get me wrong. There will be times where your faith in God will grow when you get to a mountaintop and see his glory, when he does a miracle that is amazing, when you have that fulfillment of that promise. Those things will build your faith. But sometimes the things that will build your faith is when you say, God, this doesn't make sense and I'm feeling really uncomfortable, and can we talk about it? And God says, there's no question you have that's too big for me. There's no feeling that's too big that you can't handle. There's no objection there. There will be these interruptions in life. Whether you're a person of faith or not, you know there will be interruptions in your life. But if you are a person of faith, you understand that there's a moment where these interruptions become pregnant with promise, even if it's not the plan that you wanted. And what I am not telling you is just say, oh, I accept it, it's good. What I'm telling you is there's this righteous wrestling that usually has to happen, not always, but usually has to happen before you get to the end of it and say, okay, God, I trust you. This is what happens at the end. Look what happens. Mary gets this message. She's troubled. She asks this question again, what you talking about, Willis? And then the angel, verse 35, the Holy Spirit will come upon you. The power of the Most High will overshadow you. The Holy One to be born is to be the Son of God. Even Elizabeth, we'll talk about her next week. Your relative is to have a child in her old age. She was said to be unable to conceive in her 6 months, unable to conceive is in her 6th month, for no word from the Lord will ever fail. Mary answered, I am the Lord's servant. May your word to me be fulfilled. This Christmas season, and really in every season of your life, I hope you can get to that point where Mary gets at the end and she says, I am the Lord's servant. Let your word be fulfilled. But let's not joke ourselves about what has to happen beforehand. There's an interruption, there's a righteous wrestling, and then there's the servant surrender after that. I don't know if that wrestling looks like grief for you. I don't know if it's reimagining a future that's more amazing than you could have ever. I don't know if it's letting go of control. I don't know if it's maybe forgiving and redoing a relationship with someone and realizing, okay, God may want to change the relational dynamics here. God, I don't know what it is, but at the end, you come to this place where you say, I surrender. And you think about this, think about how amazing it took for Mary to surrender to it. But even think bigger than that. The one growing inside of her, Jesus, 33 years later, will be at that exact same place. The night that he was betrayed, right before he was about to go and die on the cross, he's praying and he says, God, is there any other way than for me to die on the cross? Is there any other way than for me to pay the price for humanity's sin? Is there any other way for me to defeat death than to die? Is there any other way to find healing except for my body being broken? And at the end of that wrestling, he says, what? I am the Lord's servant. He says it this way, not my will, but your will be done. This is the life of faith. There will be unexpected interruptions. There will be wrestling. But my prayer for you is this, is at the end of the day, you can come back to where Mary was and said, hey, God, I am your servant. Let it be to me according to your will. I hope you can come before God and say, God, it's not about my plans and preferences. It's about your plan because it's bigger and greater. It's not about me in this season. So here's my challenge, friends. I understand that this is a busy season for all of us. I'm not here to continue to just add one more thing for you to do. But here's what I'm going to invite you to do this week. This week, what I want you to do is I want you to set a timer on your phone. And whenever that timer goes off, I want you to have 1 minute where you just stop and say, it's not about me. I am your servant, your will, not my will. A moment of silence, a moment of surrender, and a moment for it. You see, I don't know when you're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it at 7:35 in the morning. Why? Because my kids don't leave for school until 7:30, and there will be no silence in the Thomsen home until those two mini-me's are out of the house. Maybe for you that doesn't work because the mornings are crazy. Maybe it's that right before you go to bed in that morning or at night, and there's that moment where you stop and say, God, my day did not go according, but God, in those interruptions, let me be your servant. And this 1 minute, what it really is, it's a practice of a posture so that when that thing happens, it's that moment when that person at work does that thing that absolutely makes you want to tear your hair out and theirs. And you say, no, this is an interruption. God, what are you doing here? It's the moment when you look at your calendar and things get changed and it wasn't your plan or your control, but you've been practicing every day for 1 minute, stop and saying, nope, it's not about me. God, is this interruption maybe a way that you're working in me or working through me? What I want you to do is take those moments and say, God, I know that this season is packed full of plans and craziness, but maybe, just maybe, he has a better plan for me than I do. Oh, you don't have to like it. You don't have to feel good about it. It might take you days, weeks, months, even years to wrestle through it. But in the end, there's this surrender that says, it's not about me. So I want to invite you as we close to bow your head and close your eyes, and instead of waiting for tomorrow, we're just going to practice this. I invite you to place your hands out as a sign of surrender and just say, God, I surrender. God, I want to be your servant, but I'm struggling with these changes. God, change my heart to trust you more, to trust your plan, to trust you with my tears, my relationship, to trust you with my family and my finances, to trust you with my future. Jesus, I am your servant. It's not about me. Let your will be done in me and through me, no matter what plans may change. And all God's people said, amen.